fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Oh. Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Stock Car Brazil is coming to iRacing. Take the wheel of the same cars that I drive in Brazil's most popular racing series. The Toyota Corolla and Chevy Cruze make their debut in the sim as part of the 2022 Season 2. Feel what it's like to handle more than 400 horsepower from a 6.8-liter V8 engine and more than 500 with push to pass. Take on the challenge of your favorite tracks, from our premier circuit at Interlagos to your favorite road and street courses around the world, with a car unlikely any you've ever driven. It takes a special set of skills to get the most out of these cars. See if you're up for the task.
Welcome one and welcome all to SimSpeed TV. It's Dirt Night once again. Wednesday is Hump Day. It's also Groove Day for the drivers in the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events 410 Sprintcar Tour. Round 4 of the 2022 season. We go to Williams Grove Speedway. Fantastic circuit, this one. One of the longer dirt tracks on the iRacing service, and one where there's a lot of speed and a lot of technicality with very tight turns at either end of its nice long straights. Be interesting to see who comes out on top here tonight in the A main. To bring it to you all live here on SimSpeed TV is myself, Reese Gardner, with Cameron Dance alongside me in the commentary box and Jay Kennedy on production. Cam, we always love racing at Williams Grove. Definitely a place where the slide job reigns supreme.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is an awesome track, this one. You've obviously got the very long straights on the front and back straight, and then you've got those very tight turns that seem to throw all sorts of interesting moments, whether it's slide jobs or various different lines or just very, very good racing. It's a really, really cool place, and every single time we come here, it's just been some awesome night of racing. So we're looking forward to seeing what's going to happen tonight, what the order's possibly going to be, and whether this championship's going to have a shake-up or not.
Indeed, the championship is looking pretty close, I have to say, as we check out the standings in the Drivers' Championship. Harry Stewart is the one who leads the way from Tim Ryan on 807 points. The New Zealander doing quite well in the previous round at Kokomo, taking victory in the A main. Aidan Beerline, who won the A main in round 1, still there on 733 points in third place. But have a look further down the top 10. It's going to be a very tight fight for fifth place between Stevens, Shute and Barry.
Yeah, it certainly is. Those one positions very, very close, and all it's going to take really is even something like one DNF or someone having a bad night, and it's just going to completely shuffle that bottom half of that top 10 on your screen at the moment. So it's really going to come down to just consistency and making sure you're being smart and smooth and not doing anything silly if you're inside that top 10 at this stage.
Joel Berkeley still within a few hundred points there of Harry Stewart at the back end of the top 10. He ended up taking the win in the next to previous round at Cedar Lake Speedway. Tim Ryan, unfortunately, having the win taken away from him for an incident out on track. This is the results from last round at Kokomo. Unfortunately, we weren't able to broadcast it, but that's how they finished in the A main. Harry Stewart by just 7/10 from Tim Ryan. And tell you what, it'll be interesting to see if Aiden Bierlein in that 4th place finish can continue his very strong run in this series. The American is racing on servers not too familiar to him, and he's going to have to deal with more latency than the drivers around him, but he's still maintaining a good level of competitiveness here.
Yeah, absolutely. He's still there or thereabouts at the point of the field and still getting those very, very important championship points compared to his rivals as well. So he's by no means completely out of it at this stage, and still plenty of racing as well. But the fact we've still got a couple more rounds till we get to the end of the championship. So still all to play for there for him, but still he has to finish the races and make sure that he's being consistent and not doing anything that's going to cost him possibly.
Well, we check out where Williams Grove is in a geographic sense in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. This place has been around since the 1940s. It's a very old circuit and a very legendary one too. You see its characteristic paperclip shape here. Also, how wide the turns are. They are pretty tight, but particularly through turns 1 and 2 there at the bottom left, the track widens up massively, so that should provide plenty of space for side-by-side racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen over the years as well, the racing here, that turn 1 really does provide quite a spectacle with the fact that you've got that obviously much wider exit as well. So you see all sorts of different creative lines on the way into and through there. And we've seen numerous drivers hit that inside retaining wall or the tractor tyres as well, trying to get right down onto the bottom when there's not a lot of grip down and around them. So it really does end up bringing out some very, very fascinating lines in racing.
Yeah, that blue bridge that you see over the back straight, check out where the access road joins the racetrack. You see the wall kind of sticks out there. That's very noticeable when you're out there driving on the racetrack. So the drivers, if they're racing side by side down the back stretch, they're going to have to be very careful not to push each other too hard into that. Here we go then. Jumping on into the session, the drivers are in the final few minutes of practice, and then we'll go for the quick time session. Really looking forward to that, seeing who can get themselves on the front row for the heats. We've got a good amount of heats here tonight. Looks like we're going to be getting, I think, 4 heats tonight with the amount of drivers in this session, and already drivers are testing the limits, aren't they? Well, it'll certainly be a difficult night for these drivers. It's going to be a short and fast run here in the heats. And we've got an A main coming up, which is going to run for 30 laps. Hopefully, drivers will be able to get some good green flag runs in, because last round at Kokomo, we had 7 cautions in the A main. Kokomo, though, a much tighter circuit than Williams Grove, so we shall have to see how things go here in Mechanicsburg. There's potential that we might only be going for 3 heats here tonight, considering the amount of drivers in the session, but we will update you on that as things continue on. So, the session has been moved on, and we'll get ready for the quick time here. Only 3 minutes these drivers have. Blake Walsh is going to be one of the first to set his time. Let's see how well he does in car number 97. Everyone out there on the circuit now, and Walsh running very tight towards the inside of the final couple turns. There's already a bit of a groove forming in the clay, this beautiful red clay of Williams Grove. Leo Heaton, then Josh Barry, setting the quickest time so far. 16.488 is the lap time to beat. Glenn McLeod, Hayden Vickers, and Lachlan Phillips, they slot in behind. Brent Hobbs goes up to P2, and then Riley Stewart goes to P1, the first driver, into the 16.3 bracket. What can Aiden Bierlein do? 16.364, and that's pretty much, yeah, that's exactly the same time as Riley Stewart, down to the 1,000th. Zachary Fellon, though, going a little bit faster, 400ths quicker, in fact, than Stewart and Bierlein, as the number 88 of Brenton Hobson for Synergy Sim Racing begins his first lap.
Yeah, so time's coming in thick and fast, and some very, very close lap times as well. Not a lot separating a lot of the drivers currently. Daniel Boyd goes up to P1 as well. Provisionally, Hobson comes across the line, and he is going to do a 16.45, so not a great lap time from him so far, but not too bad as well, currently. Harry Stewart just comes across the line. He puts himself up into the top 10. So not too many good laps from a couple of these drivers, but still not too bad at the start, at least.
Oh, Stewart. Oh, he's really struggling with that rear end, isn't he? Looks like he's not going to get the best start to the night. The championship leader having some issues with the balance of his chassis as Tim Ryan is now out on track. One of the main competitors for the title here. Let's see what he can do in his Logitech G Altus Esports number 98. He looked like he was really pushing it to the outside wall. He's running a nice wide line through the last couple of turns, trying to get as much momentum down the front stretch as possible for his next lap. 16.26 though, that is going to bring him right up to the top of the quick time standings. Fantastic stuff there from Tim. Let's see if he goes any faster here. Runs a little bit tighter through the final couple turns. The rear end was threatening to dance out there on him, and it looks like he ended up losing a 10th on that as the session comes to a close. And we can move on into the heats. This is going to be quite the interesting night, as it is confirmed we will only have 3 heats. There are the quick time standings. Daniel Boyd, 500 slower than Tim Ryan. That's incredibly close, but you see how quick all of these guys are, how competitive this night is going to be. And it begins with the first heat. Tim Ryan and Aiden Bierlein are going to lead them away, with Riley Stewart and John Schultz on the second row. Harry Stewart starts in 5th alongside Tyler Bish. Brent Hobbs is going to start alongside Jackson Callow in 7th and 8th place. 9th and 10th going to be Braden Miller and Blake Walsh. Braden Morosky, the last driver in this first heat. Now, this is quite stacked here up at the front of the field, particularly in the top half. I'll be interested to see what Harry Stewart can do, because he would have expected to be a bit faster here. Unfortunately, as we mentioned, car balance not exactly to his liking in the quick time session. Maybe when he loads it up with a bit more fuel for the heats, he'll have a little bit more luck. We'll see.
Yeah, they'll be hoping for a bit more luck in the heats, and obviously as the track slicks up more and more, I imagine he'll start to become more and more comfortable, possibly having his car set up to be a little bit more on the tighter side rather than what we had in qualifying. So we'll see what happens in the race. Obviously he's going to want to move up at least 2 positions to try and get himself inside inside the top 4 for a transfer position to the A main, but we'll see. What's going to happen is still anybody's guess as to what might happen behind him.
Anyone's guess indeed, but it's going to be Tim Ryan versus Aiden Bierlein leading them away from the front, and the heats only go for 8 laps, and there's no cautions in the heats, so not much time here for the drivers to sort themselves out. Coming through into the final couple of turns now, and the pace truck will pull away from them. These guys fighting for the title. Harry Stewart being so far back, they'll be thinking, yes, this is going to help us out a little, but they've got to be careful not to crash into each other. Tim Ryan leads them away. It's a very good start there from the number 98. And, Bierlein cutting towards the inside, actually got the inside wall. He's ended up losing 2nd place there. In fact, falling all the way down to 5th. It seems he's pretty comfortable down there on the tight line, but it doesn't seem like it's working for him in terms of pace. He's continuing to drop positions. Riley Stewart up into 2nd. Harry Stewart in P3. And now things are getting very dicey here for the final transfer spot. John Schultz just holding off Aiden Bierlein there. And Schultz, the car tightened up in the middle of the corner there, and he hits the wall, and that puts him back into Tyler Bish. They managed to keep going, though. Not much damage there, as Bierlein is now trying to get that 4th place back. Remember, the top 4 from each heat will transfer straight through into the feature. Bierlein wants to finish 4th. That means he'll have less work to do tonight, as that's a tap there. John Schultz goes tumbling over. Oh, my goodness, what a shame there. The number 78, he's gotten back onto his wheels, but I don't think he'll be able to get going again. He is pulled out of the race. That's unfortunate there. Well, now, Bierlein holding on to 4th place by just a 10th of a second from Tyler Bish. This is going to be the battle that defines how the rest of the night is going to go for Bierlein. He might get a rest. And continue racing in the feature, or he'll have to work his way through the consolations. It seems that he's gotten some good rhythm down, though. He's continuing to work that inside very nicely, and he's actually pulling away from Tyler Bish, so things are working out all right for him.
Yeah, it didn't look like he was too strong early on, but something's happened to that bottom side of the racetrack, and it's really started to work for him quite nicely. So he's starting to pull a little bit of a gap on those behind him. He was starting to duke it out really hard. Bish and Callow duking it out for the final spot inside the top 5. Not going to be a transfer, but Blake Walsh has had a problem as well on the inside out of the
He's
final
been black
corner,
flagged.
So he's been black flagged as a result of what happened earlier on. But Tim Ryan currently on his way to the checkered flag, and he's going to take an easy win here.
Yeah, very easy win there.
Oh, not
almost went wrong for him there, but he'll cross the line in first. Good stuff there from Tim Ryan. Riley and Harry Stewart complete the podium, and Aidan Beerline will come home to finish in 4th place. So those guys can put their feet up for a bit and watch the rest of the racing as it goes on. There's your results there. Ultimately, the transfer spot decided by, it looks like, about 0.6 of a second between Beerline and Bish. So Callow, Miller and Morosky are your last finishers on the lead lap. Blake Walsh with that black flag had to pull over, unfortunately. He comes home in 9th. John Schultz ended up retiring from that one, as did Brent Hobbs. Hobbs only out on lap 2. That's a big shame there for Brent, but those drivers will get a chance to work their way up in the consolations. Here's the grid for Heat 2. Daniel Boyd and Zachary Fallon going to lead them away from the front row. Nathan Norman and Darcy Wilson 3rd and 4th. Brenton Hobson starting 5th alongside Callum Davidson. 7th and 8th, Ethan Bastian returning to the series here. Starting alongside Daniel Gow, then it's Leo Heaton, Luke Wilson, and Bob King, one of the co-founders of Oceanic Dirt Sim Events, starting in the 11th spot. This is going to be an interesting one, Cam. I'd say I couldn't really pick a winner from these guys. Daniel Boyd, though, the pressure's going to be on for him.
Yeah, certainly a few drivers you could probably pick to win this one, really, or possibly even transfer to the A main. The likes of Bob King, Gow, Bastian, Davison, Hobson, Wilson. Pretty much name all the drivers, and they're all going to be in with a shot, really, because it's just so close with how everybody is at the moment. But green flag is in the air, and a very, very good start from your front row. Not a great start from Nathan Norman, though, so he's going to get jumped into turn 1.
That he is. Take it easy, guys. Norman, he lost a bit of momentum in turns 1 and 2. Under threat for the podium from Darcy Wilson. It's all on for 5th place. Behind, into the wall goes Callum Davidson. They just managed to avoid him. There's a big check up behind, though, and Leo Heaton comes together with Luke Wilson. Both of those drivers will end up being out here if Wilson can't get going. It looks like they've managed to do all right there. But Daniel Boyd, he's starting to streak away from these guys. It is on for 3rd between Fallon and Norman. And have a look at Darcy Wilson starting to make up some ground.
Yeah, Wilson's starting to close in on these guys really, really quick as well. The two ahead have been dicing it out very, very hard. A slide job from Norman on the way through 3 and 4. He's going to get the drive off the corner, and Fallon going to get the drive off the corner from Wilson. Wilson going to fire it up the inside of both of them with a massive slide job. Checks up Norman. He has to really back out of it. Nearly contacted. In fact, probably was contacted, and as a result, he's fallen behind Brenton Hobson now. So Hobson now in the transfer spot, but Nathan Norman probably not going to let that one go easily.
And Nathan Norman, he won't be too happy with that. That check up on the high line. He'll try and work his way past Hobson, but Brenton is making short work of catching up to Zach Fallon here. Slide job from the number 88, potentially. No, he's going to stick to the inside, and it actually looks like he remains level with Fallon on the way into turn 1. He might be able to get this done. Fallon now back into 4th place. Have a look at Darcy Wilson. Oh, Nathan Norman. Oh, dear, Zachary Fallon getting smashed there by Nathan Norman as he made his way through. So that is going to end up promoting Daniel Gow to 5th place. Doesn't have much time left to try and get this transfer spot sorted, but with Norman and Hobson now almost running side by side, this could be a big race for 4th place. Let's see what Daniel Gow can do to catch up to these guys as the leader has started the final lap. Daniel Boyd leading by 1.7 seconds. That's quite the winning margin when it comes to sprint car racing. Let's see how they sort themselves out. It's all on between Hobson and Norman, but it's going to be Daniel Boyd who takes victory in the second heat. Wilson second. Oh, it's so close between Norman and Hobson. It looks like Brenton is just going to hold on to that by a tenth of a second, and Daniel Gow only coming home 2/10 behind, so just missing out on the transfer spot there.
Yeah, just ended up missing out in the end. Wasn't quite enough of a battle going on in front to end up getting at that transfer spot, but he's at least going to start near the front in the consolation races. So we'll see how he goes in the consolation and whether he ends up making it through to the A main or not. But very, very close race indeed.
Fantastic stuff there, and a little bit of drama to boot. Time for the third and final heat of the night. It's going to be Braden Shute in car 76 who leads them away. Clayton Davies starting alongside him. Alex Attard and Josh Barry in third and fourth. Barry started on pole for the feature last week at Kokomo, unfortunately falling to sixth in the A main. Blaine Densley's going to start in fifth. Cooper Wilson in sixth. Glenn McLeod and Max Lumsden are going to start in seventh and eighth, with the top 10 rounded out by Hayden Vickers and Lachlan Phillips. Meanwhile, it's Sean Stevens in car 26 who takes up the 11th and final spot. Interesting to see if we even get a C main here, Cam, with the reduced field of cars. Either way, it's all going to be borderline here for the consolation run. I'm looking forward to this start.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see whether we have a C main and a B main or just the one consolation with only 3 heats. We'll have to wait and see, but this heat very much going to be very competitive with those top 4 in here. Green flag's in the air and we're underway, and a great start from the front row. Shute already into the lead, but looking down on the bottom side is going to be Clayton Davies, and he's actually going to get that one done, but Braden Shute looking to try and come back at him on the high side.
Let's see how well it works. Oh dear, there's a crash on the back stretch that's taken out 2 cars, Lachlan Phillips and Hayden Vickers. A third one involved in that as well. It seems it was Glenn McLeod. So unfortunately, we've already had McLeod out of the race here, but it is on for the lead there. Braden Shute and Clayton Davies fighting very hard. It looks like Shute's really coming back here on the high side. He's making that work. Davies is forced to stick low. Alex Attard now fighting for the win too. Josh Barry holding on to the 4th place transfer spot, and he's got a nice margin over Blaine Densley. He should be safe for now. We'll have to wait and see, but it's side by side for the lead as we get up to half race distance.
Yeah, still is side by side, and Shute just going to drive around the outside of Clayton Davies like he was standing still. Nothing on the bottom there for Clayton at all, so he ended up losing out massively. But it's on behind him as Alex Attard and Joshua Barry not too far apart, and also just in the background Densley not too far behind these guys as well, so it could very well quickly turn into a 4-car scrap for what's going to be the final transfer spots with the way it's going.
Looks like Clayton Davies has switched to the high side. He's determined that that is where the grip is now that the track's evolved past a certain point. Braden Shute, though, starting to drive away from these guys as we check out the number 49 of Josh Barry. He holds on to the transfer spot. And it looks like Densley still about 7/10 behind, should be safe. But if Barry gets involved with Alex Attard here in the final few laps, don't forget they've got Clayton Davies with them as well. A 3-car scrap could bring Densley right into it.
Yeah, it could very well, but Joshua Barry getting a much better run out of turns 1 and 2 there compared to Alex Attard. He tried the bottom, didn't quite work for Attard, so he's ended up having to go back to the high side, and they've actually started to slightly catch up to Clayton Davies now with only 1 lap to go. The white flag's in the air. Is Attard going to be able to get this one? It's hard to tell, but your race winner is at least going to be Braden Shute based on where he is on track.
Oh, and Attard, not the best run through the final corner, but he is going to hold on to 3rd place there. Good stuff. Josh Barry finishing just behind, and he is safe into the feature. But there, car 76, Braden Shute, fantastic victory there. Briefly lost the lead to Clayton Davies, but as the race got into a rhythm, the high line was where the money was made. Fantastic racing there. And that is the result. Shute getting the lead by over a second. Goodness me. With Clayton Davies 4/10 ahead of Alex Attard. Josh Barry coming home just behind. Densley, Stevens, Lumsden, Wilson, Vickers, Phillips, and McLeod are going to have to work their way through the alphabet, because it looks like we are getting a C main here, Cam. This is how they're going to be starting. Cooper Wilson and Blake Walsh on the front row, with Leo Heaton and Hayden Vickers 3rd and 4th. John Schultz and Bob King going to round out the top 6 here. 7th is Lachlan Phillips starting alongside Brent Hobbs. Only 10 cars here. Luke Wilson and Glenn McLeod in 9th and 10th. And it's going to be the top 4 that transfer through to the B main here, Cam. Anyone who finishes outside the top 4 is going to be going home.
Yeah, it's almost like a bit of a heat race here with the fact you got the same number of cars as what we saw in the heats nearly, and you get 4 transferees, although instead of it being to the A main, it's going to be either you're going home or going to the B main. So a little bit more pressure here than what's going to be in a heat race, with the fact you don't want to finish outside that top 4, especially if you've been inside that championship contention sort of area as well.
Well, they pull away behind the pace truck. Wilson, Walsh, Heaton and Vickers, your first 4 starters here. And I've noticed throughout the heats, as the night has continued, the starts from the front row have been getting more and more even. Certain drivers got a very good jump at the start of the night, but now everyone's heads are screwed on, so we'll see if Vickers can stick with the likes of Walsh, Heaton and Wilson coming through here. Looks like Hayden Vickers going up to 2nd place, it seems. Interesting start there. Cooper Wilson decides to go early, though. He gets the edge over Vickers as we are green for the C main. Those Vickers go to the inside. Big slide job attempt there from John Schultz, as there was a slight technical issue for Leo Heaton. And then up into 4th place goes Brent Hobbs. Excellent jump there with John Schultz losing a bit of momentum, and there's contact. Looked like Heaton lost some pace there. We've got a car on its side. Very unfortunate there for Glenn McLeod and for Bob King as well. It looks like King didn't take to the start here. McLeod, the car that came off the worst there, as it looks like it's on for the lead there. Cooper Wilson and Hayden Vickers fighting very hard for the lead here as Brent Hobbs tries to catch up to them. Hobbs setting the briefly setting the fastest lap. It's just gone to John Schultz. Oh, look at Heaton.
Big scrap as Heaton with a big slider on the way through 3 and 4, and he's just going to park in front of Luke Wilson, who's going to have Blake Walsh now firing it up the inside of Leo Heaton with a slide job. Heaton going to try driving underneath him, doesn't quite manage to do it. He ends up stuck behind him, and now behind them it's a 3-way scrap with Luke Wilson Phillips in there as well.
Oh, goodness. Wow, it came from nowhere there, Luke Wilson. Oh, and that's resulted in a huge hit there for Leo Heaton. He's going to go tumbling over onto his roof. That's a big shame there. He briefly held onto the transfer spot. That was all for 4th place, by the way, and that's completely changed the face of the battle for the transfer spot. Luke Wilson now 1.2 seconds behind Blake Walsh for that 4th place.
Yeah, Walsh has got absolutely no pressure at the moment being in 4th place. He's got a massive gap back to everyone behind, so he's pretty much chasing those in front as he just brushes the Armco through 3 and 4, trying to run right up against the cushion on the Armco, but he's still got a little bit of a gap, so he's got a little bit of a buffer, but he doesn't really want to be putting in the fence this early, especially with the fact he's on for a transfer to the B main.
Yeah, take it easy, mate. It will come to you as it's still on for 2nd here. We're past half race distance in the C main, and Hayden Vickers has to defend here from Brent Hobbs. He's going to the inside there. Vickers running the high line and getting a good launch onto the back stretch, but you see that they're driving over the groove, whether you're running the high or low line, so grip is sparing at best. They're going to have to move their wings back, potentially, and work themselves out to a nice stable car. Seems there's a bit more usable track there in turns 1 and 2, but once you get to 3 and 4, have a look at how slick the track is pretty much all the way through.
Yeah, it's pretty much, you're going to be either right up against the inside Armco, you're going to be right up against the outside Armco, no real in between like there is at turns 1 and 2, and you can see the sort of difference in line there between Hobbs and Vickers through 1 and 2 as well. Hobbs running slightly higher, slightly through the middle sort of, and then Vickers running a little bit lower, and you can see the difference that it's making as well, as Hobbs just not quite able to have the same pace.
Yeah, looks like it, and it seems that Blake Walsh is not quite able to catch up to them. He's actually looks like he still has a good gap over Luke Wilson as well. But this is the main fight on track at the moment for 2nd and 3rd. Seems that Hobbs is starting to lose a bit of time there to Hayden Vickers. He's going to have to pull a rabbit out of the hat here on the final lap, as it looks like Cooper Wilson is going to round the final couple of turns and take victory in the B main. He secures his spot in the feature, the C main, sorry. Hayden Vickers second, Brent Hobbs third, and Blake Walsh manages to hold off Luke Wilson there. Very good race, and unfortunate for Luke Wilson, Lachlan Phillips, John Schultz, Leo Heaton, Glenn McLeod, and Bob King. Unfortunately, that is the end of their night.
Yes, sadly, a few very quick dudes going home, sadly, earlier than they probably would have liked, especially the likes of Bob King and Leo Heaton, who would have had some very, very good pace and would have been up that point end of the field as well. So, fortunately, an early night to their night, but nevertheless, there's still a lot more racing for some of these guys who have transferred.
Indeed. Wilson, Vickers, Hobbs and Walsh are going to join the B main grid, which we go through now. Starting on the front row is Tyler Bish and Daniel Gow, with Blaine Densley and Jackson Callos third and fourth. Callum Davidson and Sean Stevens round out the top six. Seventh place starter, Braden Miller alongside Zachary Fellon. And then it's Max Lumsden and Braden Morosky rounding out the top 10. Ethan Bastian is going to start in 11th. And then we have our four top place getters from the C main, Wilson, Vickers, Hobbs and Walsh, rounding out our 15-car field. Now, there's a little bit more margin for error here because the top 12 transfer through to the feature. So there's definitely a bit more of a chance for these guys.
Yeah, that means that only about 3 drivers end up going home here rather than the normal sort of, not quite 8, but 7 go home normally, like we've seen where the top 8 go through to the A main rather than 12. So it's going to be a little bit more easier for some of these guys to transfer through, but at the same time, you still got to finish the race to end up getting through. So making sure you're pointing in the right direction and on your wheels as well is going to very much help, as green flag's in the air and a very equal start. You saw there Daniel Gow trying to get down to the bottom side of the racetrack, try and get a bit of grip, and it nearly cost him dearly, but he's holding on to second and there's a big scrap behind.
Yeah, look at that advance from Braden Miller. He took the inside through turns 1 and 2 and vaulted past the rest of the field. It is a tight pack here, pretty much for 6th, 7th on back. Fantastic stuff between these drivers as Braden Miller continues to try and work his way further up to the front. Daniel Gow taking the race lead from Braden Miller meanwhile, but Miller's going to fire it back up the inside. They make contact, and it looks like they managed to keep going, but now this brings Tyler Bish right into the fight for third place. Blaine Densley there as well, but he's going to have to force the issue here with Ethan Bastian now getting up his inside. There is Densley trying to run the high line, and it looks like Tyler Bish is trading places here with Ethan Bastian. It's on for the lead once again, though. On the inside, Braden Miller trying his best to get one up here on Daniel Gow. There's the view, and firing it towards the inside. A little bit of fresh clay on the very inside of the circuit, and it looks like that's worked out for Miller. He is now in the lead of the race. Daniel Gow is going to be forced to try and use the high line here. Up into third goes Ethan Bastian. It's been a great run through the field for Ethan. Remember, he started outside the top 10, and he could be in contention for the win here.
Yeah, very much could. He started down in 11th, so he's very much in with a shot of winning this race, if not an easy podium with the way it's going. So he's doing very, very well to find himself right on the tail of these guys. He was slightly quicker as well last time by compared to both of them, so he's doing an excellent job to be right up at the pointy end and in with a chance of winning this.
Right on board with Ethan Bastian as he tries his best to make that inside line work. There's a brief change for fourth place. Blaine Densley almost got past Tyler Bish, and now Blake Walsh has put Hayden Vickers outside of the top 12. And oh my goodness, Miller and Gow both getting into the wall. Bastian's going to take advantage and move through into second. Brilliant move.
Yeah, very, very good heads-up driving there, and a great move to move into second by Bastian. He watched what was happening ahead of him and managed to just stay out of the way and do his own thing, which is all he's been doing in this race, and it's done great wonders for him at the moment. So he's just got to keep on doing what he's doing, running that low line compared to everybody else who's running right up against that outside fence.
Looks like the top 12 are safe. Brent Hobbs has a huge gap back to Braden Morosky. There was a little bit of a kerfuffle in the rest of the top 12. There is Morosky, and oh my goodness, trying his best to work here with Blake Walsh. They're actually battling for 13th and 14th here. They both realise that if they can't catch up, they're going to be going home, as the battle's still on for second here between Ethan Bastian and Daniel Gow. It looks like Bastian not quite able to get the run off the final turn that he wanted. He's going to try the slide job once again on Gow, though, is he? No, he's just going to stick to the inside. He seems very comfortable making those tight turns. Remember, these guys are fighting for grid positions in the A main as well as points for the B main. So with only 5 laps to go, this is going to be an interesting fight. Still forcing his way to the inside is Ethan Bastian, just trying to get a little bit of extra grip on those inside tyres, but doesn't seem to be doing much for him in his pursuit of Daniel Gow.
Yeah, he doesn't quite seem to be having the pace, although he's pushing hard and he's really trying his best to hold it down there. He's literally locking the inside front wheel on a few occasions to try and get it, keep the car down there. So he's really pushing hard, trying everything he can to try and keep some grip in the car, and he's doing not too bad of a job of it in these dying laps as well, and he's starting to pull away thanks to running that really low line as Gow's not really able to do anything.
It was a good move by Ethan Bastian there to get second place. This means it's still on for fourth. Blaine Densley is holding on to it, but he's got Tyler Bish, Jackson Callow and Callum Davidson fighting very hard for that. The white flag flies in the B main. Have a look at how close these guys are. You saw Davidson fighting there with Callow for the last position in the top 7. This is going to be an interesting finish, but Braden Miller is unpressured as he comes up to the start-finish line. He wins the B main. Ethan Bastian going to come home in second, Gow third, Densley fourth, Bish rounds out the top 5. It looks like Jackson Callow just beating Callum Davidson there for 6th place. Here are the results then from the B main, and finishing in 8th, Sean Stevens, Cooper Wilson and Zachary Fellon rounding out the top 10, and Max Lumsden and Brent Hobbs will make their way through to the A main. Unfortunately, Blake Walsh and Hayden Vickers among the drivers who are going home here tonight. Braden Morosky, unfortunately, not able to make it through either. So shame for those guys, but hopefully they'll be able to come back next round.
Yeah, they should be able to have a bit better of a round next time out. But the feature grid is decided, Reese, and we're not too far away from seeing some very, very action-packed racing for this feature tonight.
I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a fun A main as the drivers are now in their warm-up session. This championship is only 6 rounds long, and there's not much time left to sort how many points you will gain. We got 2 more tracks we're going to this season. I-55 Raceway, the newest track on the iRacing service in terms of dirt anyway, and then Eldora to round off the season. We want to thank our series sponsors, among them Fast Print Signs and Apparel, the prime sign maker in the Broken Hill area. If you want to check them out, go to fastprintstudio.com.au. And of course, ZP Images, Zach Fellon's photography business. If you're interested in checking out his portfolio and buying his services, capturing your event, go to zpimages.com.au. Well, we wait then for the A main to tick over as we check out our schedule here. 4 rounds down once we finish up the racing here at Williams Grove. Then, of course, I-55 and Eldora to finish off the season. Never seen a race at I-55 Raceway before, Cam. This is going to be an interesting new experience.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's going to be a new experience for, I think, all 3 of us in the booth here, with the fact we haven't seen or done any racing around there since the track's release. So it'll be fascinating to see what sort of racing to expect, what we might expect in terms of competition as far as who ends up at the front, who ends up in the middle, and who ends up at the rear. So it's going to shake things up for sure, and certainly going to mix things up.
Well, here we are, the A main grid for your pleasure. Tim Ryan and Daniel Boyd are going to start on the front row here. It's Braden Shute and Riley Stewart on the second row. Darcy Wilson and Clayton Davies round out the top 6. Harry Stewart and Brenton Hobson will start alongside each other on row 4. It's been a good night for Hobson so far. Alex Attard and Aidan Beerline round out the top 10. Then it's Nathan Norman and Josh Barry, 11th and 12th.
Then you're going to have Braden Miller and Ethan Bashan on row 7, the start of your transferees from the B main. Then you have Blaine Densley and Daniel Gow on row 8. Row 9, Tyler Bish and Jackson Callow with Callum Davidson, Sean Stevens, Cooper Wilson, Zachary Fallon, Max Lumsden and Brent Hobbs to round out this 24-car field.
This is going to be a fun one. 30 laps around Williams Grove Speedway. How many cautions are we going to get? This will be quite interesting. We didn't really see much of a need for cautions in the heats. Of course, cautions are turned off for the heats and consolation, but the incidents that we saw, I don't think would have been too caution worthy. We'll have to wait and see though. Remember, laps are not counted under cautions, so the drivers will have to make sure that they are fueled up all the way.
Yeah, and they'll want to try and minimize the number of cautions they have as well, so they spend as little time under caution as well. So it'll be fascinating to see what people may have done in terms of fuel strategy, whether they might be running a little bit less to expect the bottom to come in later in the race or some other sort of strategy, but it'll be fascinating nevertheless. Green flags in the air, great start from Tim Ryan, and an even better jump from also your P3 driver of the number 07 of Riley Stewart as well.
Good stuff there, but Braden Shute's going to be threatening him for that third place. It was an outside lane start for Tim Ryan, and oh goodness me, that is huge. Brenton Hobson tumbling over and almost getting stuck on the wall. The caution flag is out. Oh, we've got Daniel Boyd on his side.
Yeah, there's
Sean
half
Stevens
the
as
field
well.
involved in that as well at turn 4 as everybody checked up.
Goodness. It looks like might have been started by an incident between Aidan Beerline and Alex Attard. Not too sure what's going on there. They were checking up massively. Yeah, it was contact between Beerline and Hobson here on the back stretch. You'll see Hobson come into view, and oh man, the number 79 got turned around as well. And then everyone just came piling in to turns 3 and 4. It was largely that incident with Aidan Beerline and Brenton Hobson. They briefly interlocked wheels. Beerline got spun, and that just ended up piling everyone else in. Here's the incident. Beerline gets spun. Hobson, that's how he ended up tumbling over and up. And with everyone slowing up in the middle of the turn, Williams Grove is a nice wide circuit, but when you've already committed to a corner at racing speed in a 410 sprint car, there's not much you can do to avoid that.
No, there isn't really, and that would have been a very, very wild ride for Brenton Hobson there. Luckily, he's not in VR and is on a monitor, otherwise that would have been one harrowing experience, and he probably would have wanted a sick bucket after that rollover, but he got some massive airtime after that impact with the outside wall, so he's very lucky to actually still be going here.
Well, the drivers are given time here to work themselves through. Blaine Densley and Daniel Boyd, unfortunately, losing out massively there when it comes to the incident. I briefly thought that Tyler Bish might have been out of contention as well, but it looks like Tyler has managed to get his fast repair sorted, and he's going to re-enter the circuit. We're continuing in this caution, and the field forms up. But we are going to have another lap here behind the pace truck. But I think a very well-executed race so far from Tim Ryan and also from Braden Shute. Shute started in third and now will be racing for second.
Yes, so it's going to be an interesting front row here to see what's going to end up happening off this restart. Braden Shute obviously started third originally and was on the inside, so it's going to be on the outside here, meaning he's probably going to be a little bit harder, but here's the onboard from Beerline, and just coming down the front straight, sort of just got turned sideways, and you can see that everybody else sort of piling in and trying to avoid and watch what way do you go? There's just cars going everywhere.
Wow. Hayden Beerline having a very wild ride, but not as wild of a ride as Brenton Hobson and a few others. We're coming up to the first of our restarts, though. Tim Ryan gets the jump on Braden Chute as they come across the line, too wide behind them, and trying to fire it into third with the slide job. His Riley Stewart, he's managed to work that out very nicely, but that's allowed Chute and Ryan to start breaking away here down to the inside. Goes Clayton Davies as the caution is back out. There's been another incident here back in the field, and it looks like it was Zachary Fellon who came a cropper from that. There ended up being a big checkup in front of him, and he fired straight into it.
Yeah, Ethan Bastian, Barry and Fallon all involved in that wreck out of turn 3. Not quite sure what ended up sparking that, but it was quite a mess there on the way into turns 3 and 4, and it looked like Alex Attard was even involved in that as well.
Yeah, it looks like Attard, he's unfortunately been removed from the server. Looks like he was carrying some pretty heavy suspension damage. If we go to the replay, we'll see that Attard's right front is in the air. He wasn't in full control of that car and ended up coming together with Josh Barry. That ended up sparking this incident as everyone had to check up behind. The number 49 jumping into there as well, Zach Fellon, unfortunately, on his side. And once that happens, there's not much you can do.
Yeah, there's certainly not much you can do at all, especially with how slick that back straight is and how slippery and moving around so much that the cars do as well. And we get another replay here, and you can see there the car just grabbing so badly down the back straight there, and unfortunately just ending up involved in that one, including a few others that probably didn't need to be.
Well, we go green again. It was a very good start from Tim Ryan. Braden Chute still in second place, and the fight is still on for third. Riley Stewart gets the run around the outside on Darcy Wilson. Meanwhile, Wilson's teammate Harry Stewart in a fight with Clayton Davies for 5th and 6th. Oh, that was a big hit to the wall there from Riley Stewart, but he manages to keep it going. Looks like Harry is really starting to gain on him on the outside. Brilliant stuff there. They're going to go 2x2 almost here into turns 3 and 4, making it briefly 4 wide there as dipping to the inside was Clayton Davies, and Darcy Wilson in the midst of all of that had to back out of it. The yellow flag is back out. Something else has gone on here. Daniel Gow on his side on the front stretch.
Yeah, something's happened. They're not quite entirely sure how he's ended up on his side, but that is not ideal for him at all.
Well, this is turning into a bit of a caution fest. We're only 5 laps in. Daniel Gow, let's see what happened to him. Very slick track here through turns 3 and 4. It looks like Gow ended up spinning by himself. That's a big shame there. Not much rear grip, apparently.
Yeah, they'll set the trackers. I'm not quite surprised that's happened, but at the same time, that's very, very uncharacteristic of Daniel Gow, someone who's got plenty of experience on these slick tracks and in these 14 sprint cars as well. So very, very surprising to see that sort of mistake made by him there.
Either way, coming to a near stop on the front stretch is what brought the caution out. Fortunately, no other cars were involved too much in that. Wasn't a big pile-up like we've seen at the other 2 times. There's the view from the pace truck, and it's going to be single file restarts from here on out, and definitely makes sense there, because you definitely don't want to be doing those double file restarts on such a slick track. It's insane the amount of work you have to do in a 410 sprint car. I'm just seeing the amount of counter steering that Tim Ryan has to do in a straight line. He's definitely set that car up to be very snappy in these very tight turns at Williams Grove. How much of a jump is he going to get? We go back to green flag racing, and it's a reasonable jump from Tim Ryan. Let's see if we can get some good green flag runs in here. Tim Ryan holding on there with Harry Stewart continuing to try and work his way into the top 4. But goodness me, he is having to counter steer on the straight there. There's no grip at all in these cars as there goes Riley Stewart attempting to get himself up the order a little bit further, side by side with Clayton Davies. And it looks like Schute's starting to catch up to Ryan, and he's gone for the slide job there to try and take the race lead. Tim Ryan checks up though, straightens out the car, and he's going to take the lead right back.
Yeah, he's just going to end up taking the lead just back over Braden Shute. Both of them running right down against the inside berm and the inside tractor tyres, trying not to hit that wall, and then going high in turns 3 and 4. So using a slightly alternate line on the way through 3 and 4. Clearly the top side is where you want to be in the other end of the racetrack. But you can see there Riley Stewart continuing to press on around the outside through turns 1 and 2 as well. So still trying to make something happen there, trying to do something different to what the leaders are doing in it, but it's just not quite paying off for him.
Aidan Beerline was involved in the crash that caused the first caution, but he's worked his way back up. He's now in 5th, and he's trying his best to hold off Riley Stewart here. You see them in the back a shot there as Shute goes for the lead once again on Tim Ryan. The slider doesn't work that time. Ryan holds on to momentum round the outside of the circuit. There's the battle for 5th. Beerline losing it there to Riley Stewart. Actually, no, that's the battle for 4th. Stewart continuing to hold on to that from Beerline, but with that exit round the outside, Beerline now up into the top 4. It's been a very good comeback from him. Thought his race was almost over. Braden Shute, meanwhile, has taken the lead from Tim Ryan, but the former iRacing World of Outlaws World Champion going to take it back, and Braden Shute, he got into the outside wall there. These guys are running so hard here. They are inches away from disaster anytime they turn the wheel.
Yeah, you can see them getting right up against that outside wall. And don't forget, Clayton Davies is closing in on these guys the more they fight as well. So it's becoming a 3-way fight for this race lead here. And we're not even halfway into it yet.
Caution out. Something has gone horrifically wrong. Looks like Ethan Bastian, unfortunately, one of the cars involved in that. It was an excellent fight up in the B main for Ethan Bastian. Looks like he just got tapped by Jackson Callow coming into turns 1 and 2. And it looks like Callow's been given an end-of-line penalty for that, being the car that caused the caution. Unfortunately, that's put Ethan Bastian way down the field. He wasn't 10th at the time. Here's what happened.
You'll get a replay, and you can just see that a little bit of a tap, unfortunately, from behind, and around he went. Not too ideal there. Luckily, didn't get collected by anyone behind, but certainly it will drop him to the tail end of the field, and not what he was going to be hoping for at all.
Well, it looks like this is business as usual for Tim Ryan up the front of the field. He has been facing quite the challenge from Braden Shute, who's looking incredibly fast this week. But Ryan able to manipulate the battle to his advantage. It's going to be another single file restart here to begin lap 14 of 30. If I'm not mistaken, this is the 4th caution of the night. We shall have to see how many more there are. We have yet to go past half race distance here in the A main as Ryan gets off to another good start there. Traction in that Altus Esports car seems to be where he wants it. Braden Schute's going to have to be careful here. Getting into the wall there was the number 5, Darcy Wilson. Got to be careful, mate. Works it out nicely, though, as it's side by side behind him. Everyone together here, and it's on for second. Braden Schute's having to start defending now from Clayton Davies as Riley Stewart and Harry Stewart trade places there. Shute, though, seems comfortable up on the outside. There's not much that Clayton Davies can do here. Will he be able to get the run out of turns 3 and 4? Bit too much oversteer there to get the run done.
Yeah, a little bit too much looseness there for him, unfortunately, so that held him up just a little bit, but it's on behind them as well for the final spots inside the top 5. Bish, Stewart and Norman going at it very hard at the moment through 3 and 4. It's a 3-way fight, and then nearly 3 wide at points as well, and they've also got Harry Stewart in there as well.
Fantastic stuff. Tim Ryan making a little bit of a mistake as well. He's brought Shute and Davies back into contention, and Aidan Beerline is right there as well, as it's continuing to fight here for 5th place. Battle for the lead on the left, battle for 5th on the right. Riley Stewart, oh my goodness, 3 wide there with Darcy Wilson and Tyler Bish. Sorry, that's That's Nathan Norman who's fighting with them. My apologies. As Braden Shute. Oh, he's got to be careful here to try and keep Clayton Davies behind. Stewart and Bish on the right side of your screen trading places there. It looks like a good run, though, for Riley Stewart. He's managed to clear them only just, but a slightly damaged car for Tyler Bish. It's amazing that he's still able to keep that thing going. It's missing most of its bodywork as Nathan Norman and Harry Stewart come together into turn 3. And the number 17 fires it in. Callum Davidson on his side, as well as Nathan Norman. Those two, unfortunately, out.
Yeah, and Davison really just an innocent bystander. He saw a gap that he could possibly go through, and sadly it closed in. He was involved in that one and ended up upside down and on his side. So not what he will have hoped for at all. He was sitting inside that top 10 up until that point as well. So he was having a really, really good race.
Well, there's what started it, unfortunately. There weren't many places Harry Stewart could have gone there. He was on the outside, car on one side, wall on the other. So, unfortunately, that might be on Nathan Norman. A big shame there. Well, no end-of-line penalties from that one. Harry Stewart blameless in that. But one thing we are sure of here is the lead is certainly not done. Braden Shute is holding on very nicely and keeping Tim Ryan under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, he certainly is. He's been giving Tim Ryan a very, very good run for his money tonight with the way he's been able to apply the pressure in bucket loads and keep up with him all night long as well. So could very well see this come down to the final few laps here between Ryan and Shute, and definitely don't rule out the man behind them, Clayton Davies, as he's been right there or thereabouts with these guys, and it's just going to take one small incident for him to get right involved.
Well, Braden Shute goes high. Tim Ryan and Clayton Davies go low. Braden Shute is holding on nicely to the second place. He's, wow, fantastic launches, in fact, coming on to the straight stretches here. Slight technical issue, though, might not work out too well for him as the 7 and the 41. Tyler Bish and Riley Stewart fighting incredibly hard. That's how much bodywork is missing from Tyler Bish's car. At least he's getting some good engine cooling out of that, and he's just managing to hold off Stewart there, working the inside very nicely, but it's very extreme, the lines you got to run at this point. It narrows up a bit on the straights, but the moment you get to the turns, it widens out. Harry Stewart now trying to work his way past Braden Miller. He's just managed to do that. There's the view back from Harry Stewart. Look at how close they are as firing it in is Braden Miller and Cooper Wilson round the outside, trying to get that position. This is quite the entertaining battle that's happening here, Cam. Fantastic racing going on here as there's only 8 laps to go.
Yeah, it's certainly very, very busy in that mid-pack, and a great little scrap going on there for those minor positions as well, as it's not really over and done yet for these guys who are still going to continue to fight hard, as that's nearly in the wall, just bouncing off the cushion there in the background, but still side by side and plenty of scrapping going on even just ahead of them as well.
Yeah, the fight for the lead is still on. Aiden Bierlein has dropped off Clayton Davies, but Braden Shute is still right in it. Tim Ryan, you can see the amount he has to slow down there on the inside, keep the car as straight as possible, but Braden Shute is throwing caution to the wind there up the top. He is steadily working his way up to Ryan there, but have a look at the difference in lines here. So much distance between the cars in the middle of the turn, but Shute is able to pick up the throttle a little earlier. And could he go for the inside here at some point? Only 5 laps to go, coming up to 4. It is on for the lead here. Can Tim Ryan take victory? Can Braden Shute steal it from him? This is a fantastic fight. Don't discount Clayton Davies either. He's still right there in 3rd, and he is working the inside as Tim Ryan is.
Yeah, he's trying everything he possibly can. He's throwing every little ounce of talent and extra work that he can, running right up against that outside line is Braden Shute, trying to get a run on Tim Ryan, trying to close that gap down as best as he can. Clayton Davies is trying that bottom side with Tim Ryan to see if he can make something happen in these dying laps. Again, Shute to the top side, running right up on the cushion against that outside wall. Tim Ryan right down on the inside, and that run, that time by down that front straight was actually pretty good from Shute. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in these final 2 laps.
1.5 to go now on the back stretch. Tim Ryan versus Braden Shute as Shute fires it into the wall, loses a bit of time, but late apex is the final turn here. White flag flies, and this is now or never as the leaders come together. Shute gets turned around. It's not going to be a caution, though. Shute loses second place to Clayton Davies. He might even lose third to Aiden Beerline. Tim Ryan guarding that outside line on the way into turns 1 and 2. He's going to come home to take victory at Williams Grove in round 4 of 6 in the ODSE 410 Sprint Car Tour. Clayton Davies with a fantastic second place finish there, taking advantage of that late manoeuvre from Braden Shute. And Aiden Beerline, well, we thought he wasn't in contention for a podium just a few laps ago, but he will cross the line in third and keep his title hopes alive.
Yeah, that's going to be a really good result for the championship there, so I'll be really, really pleased with that. But Tim Ryan is your feature victor in the end. It came down to that final lap and nearly ended in tears for both him and Braden Shute, but what a race it was.
Indeed. That's them. Ryan taking victory by 1.5 seconds from Clayton Davies. Beerline gets 6/10 on Shute at the line to complete the podium. Tyler Bish comes home in 5th with Darcy Wilson in 6th. Cooper Wilson with a great run through there, up 14 places to finish in 7th. He was just nice and patient there throughout the night. Riley Stewart comes home in 8th place. Max Lumsden makes up 14 places too to finish in 9th. And championship leader going into this round, Harry Stewart, a 10th place finish won't exactly be what he wanted tonight. The car just wasn't really under him.
Yeah, not really a strong result for Harry Stewart at all, especially when you consider where he started and where he is in the championship. But Braden Miller will come home in 11th with Jackson Callow bring it home in 12th, 24th to 13th as well is Brent Hobbs, so he'll be pretty happy with how that's ended up. Ethan Bastian brings it home 14th. Brenton Olmsted, a night of what it could have been, brings it home in the top 15 with 15th place, and then Sean Stevens, Nathan Norman, Callum Davidson, Daniel Gow, and your retirees Alex Attar, Josh Barry, and Zach Fallon, Daniel Boyd, and Blaine Densley to round out the field.
It's a shame there for Boyd and Densley. They were only out on lap 1. Well, they might have a chance to fight back. It's especially heartbreaking for Daniel Boyd. He started second for the feature here tonight. He'll have more chances, I'm sure, at I-55 and Eldora. Well, it's time for driver interviews to finish off the night. The first one we're going to go to is Tim Ryan. A fantastic victory for him, and certainly it seemed a pretty much flawless night from you, Ryan, at least for the most part. You did get into the wall a couple of times there in the feature.
Yeah, it was a pretty tough track, actually. Williams Grove is definitely not one of my strongest. Was just lucky to qual well, and then was able to control the race a little bit as well. Early on, I didn't really know where to run, so was experimenting a little bit. Braden was running the top, and that's typically where he's fast. He's not normally as good on the bottom. But then I found when I actually started to run my own race along the bottom of the racetrack, just because I haven't been running a lot of laps lately, I found the bottom a little bit easier to run, and that's where I was a little bit more comfortable at.
Yeah, it did seem like you were able to keep the car nice and straight on the bottom line. Every time we go to Williams Grove, I'm awed by the amount of speed that you guys carry into these very tight turns, and it seemed that slick groove was all the way across the racetrack at the end once again. What were you doing to the car to try and keep it straight?
The biggest thing, to be honest with you, is not so much the setup here, it's the trail braking technique that you use on entry. And these sprint cars are, especially on the sim, it's quite technical. If you use too much brake pressure, it really unsettles the car. But I've just got some VRS pedals recently, and I've really found it just allowed me to get that consistency to hit that bottom. And that's not even a plug, that's just being completely honest. Just made me have a little bit more confidence of being able to carry the right brake percentage on entry.
Well, you've made history when it comes to Oceanic Dirt Sim Events. You are the first driver other than Joel Berkeley to win a 410 event at Williams Grove. So you've got your name in the record books for another reason there.
Yeah, as I said, Williams Grove is probably definitely my weakest track. Joel is, so don't know why he didn't run tonight. It's a shame because he's really good at this track. So we'll see how we go in the coming weeks. Not really racing for points or anything like that, more so taking it week by week and just jumping on for a little bit of fun.
Of course. Well, still holding on to a very good position in the title fight. Tim, before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank who got it done for you tonight?
I'd just like to thank Brady for obviously putting on, you guys for putting the broadcast on. Again, it's half the reason I like to jump on and run these events. Logitech G, Ultra C Sports, Simon for everything he does. And yeah, I'll see you guys hopefully next week.
That's Tim Ryan there. Fantastic victory for him. Fantastic indeed. And he will hold on to his title hopes here. Next up, we've got Clayton Davies in the comms box. Late change in position there for second place. Stood by with Cam Dance to have a chat about it.
Yeah, certainly. It was not quite the way you expected to get second, but nevertheless, still a very, very good result in the end.
Yeah, would have liked to be in one position better. I feel like we had the car definitely to do it, just no lane to run to get there.
Yeah, now obviously very, very tough track as far as Williams Grove is concerned, and then obviously a really, really slick track, making it a little bit hard to sort of gauge what the track was doing. Did you find it was really, really difficult like Tim did, or was it just sort of playing it by ear and seeing what the guys ahead were doing?
I don't think this track is difficult. I think it's more technical into the sense of like, there's just certain techniques to how you enter the corner, and it can make the track either really hard or really easy. And the track, the slicker it gets, the better of a racetrack it comes. And I found it personally like very easy to get my momentum up. It was just trying to get the lines right when you're trying to battle is just next to impossible around here. It's very skinny, very long in the straights, but narrow, and it's very hard to get a pass if you haven't got a clear lane to get through.
Yeah, it certainly is quite challenging, especially when it slicks up. Well, we head to I-55 for the first time next week. Obviously, everybody not really having too much experience there. Thoughts and looking forward to it at all?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think we've got something that's definitely worthy of a podium, if not a win. It's just more playing the patience and waiting game, and just wait and pick up opportunities where we can, or better off quality on pole and lead it from the start.
Yeah, hopefully it's going to be a very, very good result for you, especially with the way that the championship is looking, and especially with tonight's points haul. Well, before we let you go, just any thanks and any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Hobbs and the rest of the boys back at Centre Sim Sports for helping me, and the support, Western Machine Shop, Atlantic Oil, Hobbs Trenchant and Boring, Sydney Computers, AJ Insurance, Transform Media, 3D Cinematography, ABR Setup Shop, broadcast, and yeah, for putting on the broadcast every week, and Brady and all the boys at ODSE for putting on the league.
Well, thank you very much, Clayton, and we'll see you next week, and hopefully talk to you again next week. And Reese, I believe you're standing by with our final podium finisher, Aiden Beerline.
I am indeed. It was a good result for you, Aiden. It almost went completely wrong for you earlier, though, getting involved in one of the incidents that brought out the early cautions. What was your perspective on how the racing went tonight?
I think it would have been amazing. I think the racetrack was good, two-lane racing. It's unfortunate I had damage on the start when I was around the outside of Hobson. Hit the bump coming down the backstretch, which shot me down into him, unfortunately. Sorry about that. And I mean, we might have had a car to win if we didn't have damage. I don't think most people have been able to limp that car up to the top three, but take it.
That you will, and just give us a little bit of perspective here as an American racing in an Australian league. How much does the difference in latency play into how you approach the racing?
Well, I mean, it's not a problem if you're up front, but if you're in the back, it can be a little daunting sometimes seeing people blink. So I always try to run the line that's nobody else is running, just to work around cars, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Well, you still hold on to a good position in the championship. You were in third coming into this round, and you should at least maintain third coming out of it. We race at I-55 next week. Have you run any races there? I know it's a new track, but how do you think that's going to go for you?
I ran a fair bit of races there. I don't think it's my best track, but if I put in enough laps, I'm sure it can become my best track. And it'd be interesting to see, since most people don't have the time to put in tons of laps at certain tracks, so it'd be interesting to see how it plays out for sure.
We'll be as interested as you are, Aiden. Anyway, car number 13, P3 at the end of the night. Who do you have to thank for it?
Well, first off, I got to thank Jesus Christ, my mom, my dad, just everyone supports me. Reflection Cabinetry, Redline Race Designs, ABR Setup Shop for wicked fast setups, and y'all and Brady for putting on an amazing event.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Aiden Beerline P3 in the feature. Fantastic racing here tonight at Williams Grove, Cam. We did see quite a few cautions, but I have to say, I'm looking forward to seeing how things go at I-55. This is going to be the debut on a SimSpeed broadcast for this track. Looks to be a very tight circuit, but very wide. The drivers should carry a great deal of speed here.
Certainly, it looks like it's a very interesting track and a really cool one. So looking forward to it 100%, ending up to see not only the sort of racing, but also who may or may not come out on top. So looking forward to it and fully expecting a very unexpected result next week, possibly.
As am I. Well, you'll be able to catch this next round, the second last round of the championship, from 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on the 13th of April. Sorry, got my months and days confused there. Fantastic stuff. We want to thank you all for watching. We want to give one more thanks to our series sponsors at Fast Print Signs and Apparel and ZP Images as well. Thank you so much for your support of this series. Certainly turning into a fantastic show. I'm Reese Gardner, it's Cam Dance alongside me, and Jay Kennedy on production. For Sprint Cars, we will see you next Wednesday here on SimSpeed TV.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?